Imagine for a second what it would be like to live your entire life in total darkness, to have never seen the sun, or a face, or a color. Well, that's exactly where our story in John chapter 9 begins. We find Jesus and his disciples walking along, and they come across a man who has been blind since the day he was born.
And right away, the disciples ask a question that really shows you how people thought back then. They see this man suffering, and their first instinct is to find who's to blame. They figure it has to be a direct punishment for someone's sin.
But Jesus, he just completely turns that whole idea on its head. He says, nope, you're looking at this all wrong. This isn't about sin. It's not about blame. This man's entire life of darkness is about to become the stage for something incredible, a moment where God's power is going to be put on full display for everyone to see.
So that stunning answer really sets the scene for the first part of our story, where Jesus makes this massive declaration and then performs a miracle that is, well, it's pretty unconventional.
And right here, Jesus drops one of his famous I am statements. And you gotta understand, this isn't just a nice little metaphor. He's making a direct claim about his divine identity. He's saying, I am the solution to the world's darkness, and he's about to prove it in the most literal way possible.
So the way Jesus heals this man is not what you'd expect at all. He spits on the ground, makes some mud, and smears it on the guy's eyes. Then he gives him a simple, kind of strange command. Go wash. And here's the key part. The man doesn't ask why. He doesn't complain. He just does it. That simple, trusting act of obedience is what unlocks everything. He goes, he washes, and for the first time in his life, he can see.
Now, you'd think a miracle like this, a man born blind can now see, would lead to a huge party, right? Pure celebration. But instead, what it actually sparks is a whole lot of confusion, argument, and pretty intense backlash from the religious leaders.
Get this, his own neighbors are arguing about whether it's even him. Some are saying, nah, he just kind of looks like that blind beggar. But the man himself just cuts right through all the noise with this simple, powerful truth. I am the one. His identity is the same, but his whole world has just been turned upside down.
So of course this commotion gets him hauled in front of the Pharisees. But are they amazed? Are they celebrating this incredible healing? Not a chance. All they can focus on is that Jesus did this on the Sabbath, which in their book broke the rules. It's just a perfect picture of how their obsession with religious laws made them totally blind to an incredible work of God happening right in front of them.
And this is where things get really interesting. As the Pharisees start grilling him, we get to watch a second, even deeper miracle take place. The man who was just given physical sight now starts to gain spiritual sight.
You can literally watch his faith grow in real time. Just look at how his description of Jesus evolves. At first, it's just the man they call Jesus. Simple fact. But as they push him, his conviction gets stronger, and he says he is a prophet. And pretty soon he's actually challenging these religious experts, calling them out on their disbelief. It's an amazing transformation. When the Pharisees try to trap him and force him to agree that Jesus is a sinner, he hits them with this absolute gem. It's so powerful. He basically says, look, I don't have all the theological answers, but here's what I do know. I was blind, and now I see. His own personal experience becomes his unshakable defense. But standing up to the authorities like that, it comes at a cost. His boldness gets him kicked out of the synagogue, completely rejected by his religious community. But this moment of rejection actually leads him straight to his moment of true salvation. Being thrown out of the synagogue was a huge deal back then. It meant being socially and spiritually cut off. But Jesus hears about it, and he goes looking for this guy. Just think about that incredible irony. The very system that was supposed to lead people to God throws him out. And that's the exact moment God himself comes to find him.
So Jesus finds him and asks him the most important question he'll ever answer. When Jesus reveals who he truly is, the Son of Man, the man's journey comes full circle. His new physical sight is finally matched by true spiritual sight. And his response is simple, profound, and immediate. Lord, I believe. And then he falls down and worships. But the story doesn't quite end there. Jesus uses this incredible moment to drive home the chapter's most important and maybe most sobering lesson, a lesson about what it means to truly see and what it means to be blind. This is the great reversal at the heart of the story. You have the man who started in physical darkness, but he ends up in brilliant spiritual light. And then you have the Pharisees,
who could see perfectly well with their eyes and thought they knew everything, but are revealed to be the ones who are truly profoundly blind.
These are the final, chilling words Jesus says to the Pharisees. He's telling them that if they admitted they were blind, if they knew they needed help, they could be forgiven. But the real danger, the real sin, is their arrogance in claiming they can already see just fine. That pride is exactly what keeps them stuck in their darkness.
So, what does this all mean for us today? Well, there are some huge lessons here. First, that our struggles aren't always a punishment. Sometimes they're the perfect setup for God to show His glory. Second, that simple, trusting obedience can unlock incredible change in our lives. Third, that you should never underestimate the power of your own story, your own experience with God. And finally, that sometimes rejection from the world is the very thing that pushes us closer to Jesus. And that leaves us with a pretty big question we all have to ask ourselves. Are we like the blind man, aware that we need help and open to God working, even if it looks a little weird? Or are we more like the Pharisees, so sure that we already have all the answers that we end up being blind to the real light of the world when He's standing right in front of us?